Hello and welcome back to 5 Minutes with the Family. I'm Fukui Drew here with another review of a Japanese exclusive Super Famicom game. Following up on my review of Daibakushou I can't even pronounce it right. Daibakushou Jinsei Gekijou, which was seen by 30 of the Earth's 8 billion people, I remain determined, for better or for worse, to play through the entire series. Today I'm diving into Daibakushou Jinsei Gekijou, Doki Doki Seishun, the second game in the series on the Super Famicom. This game takes such a wild departure from previous installations that it's both refreshingly new and annoyingly unique. First, let's talk about what is new here. When Milton Bradley's Life video game finally reached the market in 1994, the developers of Jinsei Gekijou series swerved hard to avoid becoming a clone of a game that was actually just a clone of their game. So instead of another cradle-to-grave life simulator, they switched things up this time with a student life simulator. This singled out their target audience while also streamlining the story. Sounds interesting, right? But things go off the rails as soon as you press start. The first red flag, take a look at this completely insane way of entering my birth date. First, you select your birth month by choosing the tens place and then the ones place, because apparently scrolling through 12 numbers was just too difficult. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it's actually kind of funny. The character creator also creates these very large, detailed character designs. I mean, some look great while others look like every awkward yearbook photo I've ever taken. When the board loads up, it definitely makes a good first impression. It's well drawn, has seasonal overlays, and plenty of neat little details to admire, but don't get too attached. The board is tiny in comparison to other games in the series. There are only about 50 spaces on the main board, and there is no end to reach. Instead, the game ends only after you play a certain number of turns. Also, while the previous game allowed for 2 to 6 player games, this one is locked in at 4, with the computer filling in any empty spaces. But what really confused me was that everyone starts in completely different parts of the board. While they hoped that this would create somewhat of a town-like feel to it, with people living in different places, it instead makes the whole experience feel very lonely, with each player stuck playing their own version of the game. Even when you do run into somebody, it's not necessarily a good thing. Landing on the same space triggers extra events which slows the whole game down, and sometimes a mini-game kicks in, usually at the worst moment possible. I kept running into a rival who was way stronger than me, which meant every time we crossed paths I was forced into a boxing minigame, and since her strength stat was so much higher than mine, I literally lost every single time. I mean, frustration I learned is a 5-letter word, and her name is Akemi. The game is played out over the course of 6 years, 3 years for junior high school and 3 years for high school as per Japanese norms. Once every player has had a turn, the calendar ticks off a month or two. Once you complete 6 years, the game will finish. This means that you'll have to sit through about 144 rolls of the dice to finish a single game. A single game takes nearly 3 hours, and this becomes even more punishing when you realize there is no save function. You'll find yourself skipping all the cutscenes even though they are hilarious. Wait, look at that haircut. No time. Is that my mom? No time. Did I just puke on the bus? No time. Each of these events will alter your social standing based on several stats, but it really doesn't matter. The game isn't decided by money or stats as it was in the previous installations, but by life experience points, which seem to be arbitrarily given. If I had to pin down the game's biggest flaw, it would be this: there is zero strategy. Everything here is just pure, unfiltered randomness. Month changes bring special events. Sometimes it's sports days, sometimes it's a romantic Christmas date with your sweetheart. Occasionally these events include mini-games, which is great. Mini-games take skill, so at least you feel like you've earned those life points, but the other ones are just given to you, or given to whoever they want to give them to. Throughout my playthrough, I found myself constantly annoyed by the sheer randomness of everything. In my head, I was already writing this review, sharpening my words, ready to rip the game apart, but then I reached the ending, and I have to say, it's really well done. Sure, the winner is still determined by those chaotic life points, but every character gets a detailed epilogue showing where their life takes them after high school. It was a surprisingly satisfying conclusion that actually redeemed a lot of the frustration in this game. Now let's talk about the real masterpiece here, the box art. I have no idea who the artist is, but they nailed it. Every game in the series has gorgeous promotional work that really deserves way more recognition. Even the commercials are great. That's why I made sure to get this game complete in box. I spent about 1,000 yen on it, and honestly, it's one of my favorite boxes in my collection. The instructions are great too. So where do I land on this one? I'm gonna give it the exact same score as I did the last installment, a 73 out of 100. I respect the developers for taking a risk with a fresh new concept, but they strayed just a little too far from what made the previous game so much fun. And seriously, where did all the arcade-style mini-games go? I really miss them. Oh well, this is Fukui Drew with another game reviewed. See you next time, and if you liked it, please hit that like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.